Hello everyone, I am the Kilted Cajun. Welcome back to my channel, and in this video I would like to go over something that's a bit of a surprise to me. I had completely forgotten about this. So today AMC dropped the first two episodes of Anne Rice's interview with the vampire. I had heard about this a while back, and to be honest with you, there was a lot of hesitation due to the obvious changes in the roles, in the performances, and of course, with the unfortunate atmosphere of, oh, what's the word? Wanting to click those check boxes and, you know, the agenda involved. There was a lot of negative opinions about where this could possibly go. And it was forgotten about. Hadn't heard anything, and then all of a sudden today, I saw someone post a video about the first two episodes in the interview in a review, and I'm like, oh wait a minute, I thoroughly enjoyed the first book. I read it, I loved it. I enjoyed the original movie with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise and everything, and I thought those were fantastic. So I had no choice but to give this a shot. And I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I've only watched the first episode. The second one, I'm going to watch that, at a later date, tomorrow, whenever I have a moment. A little backstory: we have Jacob Anderson as Louis, and we have the actor by the name of Sam Reed as Lestat himself. The other actor, Eric Bogosian, comes back as Daniel Malloy, the original interviewer from the book. Before I get into too many spoilers, I will give a brief little idea. I liked it. I genuinely was. I'm hooked. I'm going to watch the rest of this. Despite the changes that I'll go into, despite the changes to the story and Louis' origin, his backstory in New Orleans, despite those changes, and of course the obvious one, a little bit darker complected, this first episode was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The acting was great. The writing was just great. If you have any interest in the original, in Anne Rice, in Vampire, in Interview with the Vampire, I'm going to recommend this. Now, if you watch it and you think it's dog shit, come back and tell me. Hopefully, I don't get hit with anything after 3 minutes in. Anyway, so Jacob Anderson does a fantastic job. The story starts in 2022. It is modernized to the point where that little particular coof is in the story. It's not in the forefront. There's no harping on it so far in the first episode. I'm only going off the first episode. There's no harping on it. There's no agenda. There's nothing. There's no message behind it. It's just there. It's the year 2022. They talk about the global pandemic thing in the sense of Daniel Malloy, the interviewer, has I think he says Parkinson's, an autoimmune disease. So it starts off. Oh, also Sam Reed. I'm sorry for the smacking. It's a very bad habit. Sam Reed, Vampire Lestat. He does he does a great job. The chemistry between Sam Reed and Jacob Anderson playing their roles is absolutely fantastic. And I'm saying that a lot. There are God damn it, I'm going to be self-conscious about this. There's going to be scenes in AMC's version that they absolutely did not do. The relationship between Louis and Lestat is more similar to the books. The sexual relationship between them. It's there, and say what you want. If you read the books, you know what's coming. So kudos to them. The changes that they made. I don't know how much I'm going to get into spoilers. I'm gonna talk about spoilers. So it starts off in 2022. Daniel Malloy has become a big time author, and he does webinars and talk shows and all kinds of stuff. And one day he gets a package in the mail, and that package is a box of cassette tapes. And those cassettes have a letter in them. The letter is from Louis himself. Louis wants to do the interview again. The claim that Louis was too impetuous and too young, as well as Daniel Malloy, he was too young for it. They are more mature now, and he believes that a better story can be told, a more precise, concise story. And there's nothing wrong with that. I was essentially it's a retelling of the book, so it's pretty good. Now the changes. It took me a second to figure out who Daniel Malloy was because I couldn't remember. I had to go look it up, but it shows the bite marks on his neck from when Lestat bites him from the original story. So, blah, 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 blah. The package, the cassettes, I thought that was a nice touch, but outside of the complexion change, the number one change that they made is that Louis, he's a pimp in New Orleans. There's no two ways around it. He's not a manager of no, he's a pimp. He runs a bunch of ladies who sell their body to gentlemen for a good time and a few things like that. And that's where Lestat meets him. Louis is having an argument with his brother on the street. His brother is a priest, and he's also a little crazy. And that's where Lestat sees him. Lestat is attracted to the city because of the dancing and the music and the women and all this other stuff. And he finds Louis with this passion in him, and it catches his attention. I will say, real quick, the look and feel of New Orleans in this era is done fabulously. The atmosphere is wonderful. The dress, the outfits, the costume department did a fantastic job, in my opinion. The animosity that there is to seeing a black man on the streets in New Orleans. Okay, at the era, sure, they did. I think they did a very good job. At one point, Louis goes to visit his prostitute friend at the house that she works at, and Lestat is there. And it gets to the point where Lestat is almost flaunting his ability to seduce Lily, obviously the girl that Louis is in love with. Her name is Lily, and it shows off. And of course, Louis talks about it in the voiceover and whatnot. How he's frozen by Lestat's words. He cannot move. He feels this rage and hatred towards Lestat and what Lestat is doing, but he cannot move. And I think they did a good job with that. Another night, it happens again. It's poker night, and who happens to be there but Lestat? Louis sits down at the table, and they go back and forth, and Lestat, of course, acts like he doesn't know how to play poker and everything. He loses his first hand with a hand he should have folded at. But during the poker game, Lestat decides to flaunt his abilities, essentially makes the whole world stop as he telepathically communicates with Louis and helps him win the card game. And it builds up the relationship. It starts going more and more into the relationship, the friendship between Lestat and Louis. Very good job. Later on, they do it again, showing off, it shows you what Lestat can do. Dinner with the family, where Louis's brother starts talking to him about God and Christianity, and Lestat goes on this nice little speech about how he used to follow God and believed in God and everything, and almost to the point where mesmerizing his brother with Louis's brother with his knowledge, and ending it with a burning hatred for, I guess, after what his brother and his father did to him and beating him because they did not want him to follow Christianity, using his voice, his intimidation, essentially. And at one point, Louis actually stands up to Lestat and gets him to stop with his voice. And I thought that was a good touch. I think just the interactions between Louis and Lestat are great. showing what they can do. Later on that night, Louis is walking Lestat home, and Lestat invites him up for a nightcap. Unfortunately, this nightcap involves Lily. Now, this is the part where I don't know how some people. Well, you know what? If you've read the books, this part's not going to bother you. Threesome. This may be AMC, but there is nudity. You will get Lestat's ass, and you will get Lily's breasts. I'm dumbfounded by that. They were beautiful. Anyway, but it's at this point where Lestat puts Lily to sleep, and Louis is overwhelmed by Lestat's presence to the point of absolute a lust, just absolute lust. And Lestat gets his first taste, quite literally, of Louis's blood. Just a taste. And of course, they have sex, just like in the books. Oh no, a gay scene. No, say it ain't so. I think it's a great job adapting what the movie didn't want to. Like I said, if you read the books, whatever. Fast forward, Louis is, I don't know if he's ashamed or whatever, but he pretty much says, not going to happen again, ends his relationship, pretty much ghosts Lestat. And we get up to his sister's wedding. At the wedding, at the reception, him and his brother do a pretty cool tap dance as far as I'm concerned. I've always loved tap dancing. But afterwards, Louis and his brother climb up to the roof. They want to see the sunrise. And it's almost obvious where this part is going. So I've already said I'm going into spoilers. If you've made it this far, hopefully you've watched it. I think you should. But after some discussion back and forth, Louis' brother warns him of Lestat, says he's the devil, he's this, he's that, he's evil, and then proceeds to tell his brother that he loves him, that he ate too much food, and then decides to take a long walk off of a short roof. And that's how his brother ends. Afterwards, Louis is beside himself, and after the funeral, or was it before the funeral, they're having a discussion with the priest and the family and everything, and Louis' mom blames him 100% for the death. Of course, that doesn't really sit well with Louis. During the funeral, Lestat ambushes Louis, wants to talk to him, and there's a little, slight little bit of commotion. Louis wants to, he's distraught, he's beside himself, can't really think straight, and offers to walk his mother home, but unfortunately his mother, who still blames him for her son's death, wants nothing of it. Louis, unfortunately, Lestat then starts communicating telepathically with Louis. Lestat calls to him, pulls him to the point where Louis can't, he's beside himself. He turns to alcohol. He gets just piss-ass drunk, goes to pretty much the whorehouse that Lily was at because he wants her company. He needs some comfort, only to find out that Lily is dead. She's been afflicted with the disease, the blood pathogen or whatever, that has been affecting so many people. Immediately, Louis knows what happened. He knows that Lestat killed her, drained her, left her under the bridge. Louis retreats into the rain to the church where he wants to confess, and he confesses everything: his job, his family, his relationship with Lestat. And Lestat, hearing this, obviously, breaks into the church, kills the priest, kills both priests there, and uses his charm, his presence, to turn Louis into a vampire. And that's how the episode ends. Now, for a first episode, this is fantastic. There are a lot of things I brushed past. There's the world building, the atmosphere is excellent in my opinion. The backstory for Louis is pretty decent. I don't mind the change. It's no big deal. Louis' backstory was not that important to to the character, in my opinion. So the changes really isn't that big of a deal. Um, they worked the skin tone change into it as a way for Lestat to tempt Louis to change, because everyone around him doesn't see the potential, the value, the power, I guess the confidence that Louis has. Lestat uses that against Louis to convince him to become one with him, or one of him. He uses that to convince Louis to go along with him, to be his partner. Um, the way I the only thing I can figure is that Jacob Anderson must have sat there and watched the original movie and watched Brad Pitt and listened to Brad Pitt over and over again, because the way Jacob Anderson speaks during the interview is so close to the way Brad Pitt was speaking during the interview in the movie. It's I think he did a good job. All in all, Sam Reed, Jacob Anderson, they did a fantastic job. The writers, wonderful. If this first episode is any indication of what the rest of the series is going to be like, I look forward to the next episode. I will be reviewing this. I will be talking about it. This is absolutely fantastic. This is this is something else to wash the bad taste of She-Hulk out of my brain. And I still have to finish watching The Munsters. Oh God, that's going to be a whole nother thing. But I will recommend this. I do think AMC's version of Interview with the Vampire is worth your time. The first episode is an hour. I do believe each episode will be an hour. Yeah, give it a look. Give it a check. Give it a chance. Yep, I recommend it. But that's going to be it for this one. Episode 1, Interview with a Vampire. 2 thumbs way up. If you like what I have to say, if you stuck around this long, I appreciate it. Leave a like, leave a comment. Give me a hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification, and hey, if you think I'm full of shit, leave a dislike, shit post in the comments. I hope to see you on the next one. Good night.